Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for the next episode of our spotlight on GitHub Advanced Security. Secrets Exposed, the real cost of remediation. My name is Anna. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Microsoft Reactor channel. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our presenters for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, made it just in time.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna, for that warm introduction and for setting the stage. And Leo, I'm glad you made it back just in time.
Well, no, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to show that Leo has done an amazing continuation from our title card here. Literally seamless transition. Thank you, Leo.
Mm-hmm. It helps to run inside the house with bare feet. I don't know. Just gotta run fast. And it's a small house, so it's all right. Back to you, Lupita. I think we have something we want to talk about today and not, divulge secrets about, the size of our homes.
That's right. So welcome everybody to this live stream. My name is Lupita Caraves. I am an ace here at GitHub. I've been with GitHub for about 2.5 years now, but I've spent my entire career in application security. And so I thought, what a better way than to come on screen with my favorite engineer to walk you through our secret protection solution. The reason we're doing this is because we have a fun new feature. Right. Well, and we had a fun new feature release on April 1st. And I think a lot of people didn't believe it, right? They thought it was a joke, but no, it's real. And if you stay on till the end, we'll show you how you can leverage this feature to get better visibility into what your secret status looks like, if there's any known secrets, tokens exposed, etc. But I think first we'll walk you through the journey of what that looks like today, the risk, the state of the state, what we're seeing be the impact if you don't do anything, what our solution looks like, and then Leo's actually going to walk you through it on the platform to show you how to turn it on and use it. So that's kind of the agenda. We do like to keep it lively. I was just saying Leo's really funny, so I let him just kind of run the show on the, whatever works to keep everyone engaged. But feel free to chime in the comments. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Can we pause for a second? Because you said that you're an ace and nobody knows what that means.
Oh, so that's right.
Could you tell people what an ace is besides a card found in a deck of 52?
That gets you to 21 or 1?
Or 1. It's 11 or 1, yeah.
Kind of the same. Oh, you're right. Clearly, ACE is here, though, are application security executives. So we're like an overlay to your account managers. We come in, we're like special forces. So like anytime security comes up, they're like, hey, can you come in and talk through your experience and how you can help? That's what we do.
Yeah. And so my name is Leonardo Gimbaya. I am a field security specialist here at GitHub. And what a field security specialist does is they go out into the field and they specialize in security. And that's really just that's really like the most of it. Like I spend a lot of time in the sun, farming in the field and talking about security with, bugs in the ground.
He's my right-hand man. Makes it all happen. So let's go ahead and walk through kind of the state of the state. So
So Lupita just kicked herself out from this live stream, which is just fantastic. Cool.
We're doing great. I'm sure that she'll be back in just a moment.
I mean, hopefully, usually like when this stuff happens on a Zoom call, we just say like, oh, they must be driving through a tunnel because they just completely lost connection.
She's definitely driving through a tunnel right now.
Yeah,
hopefully it's a short one.
Yeah, she lives in the Pacific Northwest with a lot of mountains over there, so it could be a while. In the meantime, like, what are people seeing right now on StreamYard?
They're seeing your lovely face.
Oh no, that's terrible. Okay.
Oh, there are much worse things. Here, we can actually, I can show off. I can show off how you do match your title card.
Nice. Yeah. The hair is different and the beard is a little bit smaller, but everything else is pretty much the same. So I do have the slides that Lupita was going to show. And so if you want to share my screen, we can go ahead and continue
Yeah.
with the slides.
Absolutely.
All right. So as Lupita was saying earlier, like what we want to do is we want to talk about, secret scanning. We want to talk about what it really costs to have secrets in your environment, as well as have these secrets leaked. And so think of it this way. If you have your house keys, right, and your house keys are living on your driveway, anybody can just like drive around, they can pick them up, they can get access to your house, whatever. It's a very minimal sort of like analogy there, but essentially someone who has keys to the kingdom is going to have access to things they should not have access to. And generally speaking, for developers, the easiest thing for developers to do is to just have secrets inside the code base so they can be able to quickly access different systems, usually for like testing purposes, but sometimes when they're on a crunch, they just throw in a hard-coded password or a hard-coded key into their code base just so they can get something to work. Now, that can lead to a lot of problems, especially when we're talking about, people accidentally making repositories public, which is a thing that does happen. There are also situations in which, code bases, and especially if you're doing things in like HTML or JavaScript and you're putting hard-coded passwords there, those are all visible client side. And so what we want to be able to at least talk to you all here at Reactor is, how to best deal with that and also how to prevent that. But if we're looking at the slides here and kind of going on with this story, what we want to sort of hone in on is like how expensive this can be. Not just the loss of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Loss of reputation, with your customers. We're also talking about like how long it actually takes to deal with an exposed secret. So take, for example, we have to go through a multi-step process in order to remediate that particular secret. But if we talk about like and we'll talk about that multi-step process in a second. But when we're looking at, how much it costs when it comes to data getting stolen because of exposed secrets, I mean, just having 240 gigabytes of data stolen for this large car manufacturer, that's going to be exposing a lot of customer information, staff personal information, financial documents, infrastructure details, things that would be fantastic if I am an attacker and I want to minimize the amount of, what's the word I'm thinking of? I think it starts with an R. And I tend to forget words every now and then, especially when I'm doing things on the fly, like I'm doing right now. Reconnaissance. Whenever you're, as an attacker, if I'm doing reconnaissance, I want to be able to reduce that amount of time as possible. So if I can get information like this, it makes it so much easier for me to find ways to exploit, for me to find ways to benefit off of that stolen data, all types of things there. So if we're also looking at like this leading transportation platform, how attackers were able to, infiltrate the network, so they're able to, expose further amounts of data. They had to deal with a $148 million settlement. So this is also sort of another way of thinking how expensive having secrets in your environment actually is. And this is just one settlement. There are other stories in which other organizations that have had these types of data leaks from one way or another ending up having to spend a massive amount of money in order to deal with this particular thing. So as I said before, secrets are the keys to your kingdom. So if we're thinking about, in this case, a single compromised secret, like what sort of things could potentially happen? I'm getting access to systems. I'm getting access to services in your name. So if I have access to AWS keys, for example, and I want to be able to set up infrastructure in your name, in your account, and that particular those pairs of access keys allow me to do that type of work, easy. I can just do that. And you'd be none the wiser unless you finally figure out like all of your AWS, costs have skyrocketed and you're wondering like who else is in our environment right now. But it also gives me a chance to sort of like move laterally through an environment. So if I'm inside of a network as an attacker, I'm essentially looking at a black box, right? So that's what reconnaissance is meant to sort of help me understand what is potentially available, where some ways that I can potentially get into that particular network. But once I'm in, I'm trying to go look around, trying to understand the lay of the land, where I can identify places where I can perform some sort of exploit or some sort of data extraction. I need to understand like what is potentially valuable for me. And if all it takes is one secret for me to get to that point, to be able to do all of that lateral movement as quietly as I can, that's a very low barrier of entry. Anybody could potentially do that as long as they know how to use computers and, proxy tunnels and et cetera, et cetera. Now, think of it this way. If I am supporting open source projects or I have public repositories, the risk of that little secret being exposed becomes significantly higher. And this is why a lot of companies, when they do have, private repositories that end up becoming public all of a sudden, it's sort of a big incident. Like they have to get rid of the code base or get rid of those repositories as soon as possible. But you also have to understand, like, there's people that are using bots and scripts and scrapers that are looking for any sort of public information on GitHub, and it's constantly running 24/7. So even if you have something on the public internet with your PII or with your secrets or even with your IP, it doesn't take long at all for this stuff to get picked up and then to be utilized elsewhere for some, other nefarious means. And so when we're talking about, just simply detection, right? There's a lot of secret scanning tools out there that are really good at detection, identifying where those secrets are within my environment, within my code bases. But you also have to understand, how long have those secrets been there? What type of permissions do they have? What is the potential attack surface? What can these things get access to? And how long do they have left to live if some secrets have some sort of shelf life? So it takes a while for us to at least understand some of those fundamental things. And in the time between us having the secret committed versus the secret actually gets utilized by a third party or an unauthorized third party, could be seconds, minutes, days, whatever it takes. The longer it is there, the risk increases. And we also have to understand, like, developers aren't going to just know where these things are or just going to be ready to clean these up. And even if we give them like a whole bunch of alerts, for example, they're not going to know which ones to prioritize. The more stuff that you give to developers, that means like the more burden you're putting on top of them. That also means the less productivity you're going to find out of them, because it's going to be very difficult for them to understand what am I supposed to prioritize? The new code that I need to ship out because we're trying to build the business and serve our customers? Or do I have to deal with these security issues in order to, protect our company's reputation, to maintain business continuity, to make sure that we are protecting the data and reputation of our company? It becomes very difficult. And then as a security team, there could be one of me for every 100 developers in the organization. And that ratio can also be much larger, as in there can be 500 people versus to one security person. So it becomes a much harder job for one person to deal with all these different developers who are pushing code into their repositories and potentially adding more secrets and adding more to the problem. So what we want to be able to really deal with here is not necessarily have a detection solution, but also have a prevention solution to prevent these secrets from even entering the code base in the first place. And there's a couple of ways that that could happen. And we can talk about that once we get to that point later on in this presentation. And if you're wondering where Lupita is, she still isn't here, but don't worry, she's okay. Everything is fine. We are moving forward. And I hope all the 0.5 people on LinkedIn are absolutely enjoying this. So let's talk about how complex remediating a secret is going to be. So like day zero, we identify where that secret is in the repository. And so the next thing is that we have to understand, like, is this a live secret? Is this something that, has previously been revoked, or is it actively in use? Who owns that secret? What sort of access and permissions are provided to that particular token? What other systems are potentially using this key in production? Because if I have to make any sort of change, I also have to make sure that that particular secret, if I change it in one place, or if I move it to a secret vault and have infrastructure or code in my code base to refer back to that so it can be pulled during runtime, where else do I need to make those types of changes? Next is, well, pretty much not necessarily next, but simultaneously, I also want to understand, well, how many instances have we seen unauthorized access using this particular token? So now I have to go back, dig into some audit logs for the different services that that particular token might reach into. And then I have to do a revocation. Obviously, I want to revoke this much earlier, but if I do, I also have to make sure that I rotate a new secret there and then apply that new secret into a much more secure arena, into a secure place. I have to make sure that once I do those things, that I do regression testing to make sure everything works as it should with a new secret in the new way that we are providing or managing that secret. And then we have to make sure that we monitor this continuously in production to make sure that, one, everything is working as it should. The secret isn't going to be problematic later on. This could take months. And this is just for one particular token or one particular secret leak. We can be talking about hundreds, if not thousands, in some of these repositories. In fact, I've seen tens of thousands of secrets in repositories after people have turned on secret protection with GitHub. So this could make the problem much, much longer and much more difficult to be able to sort of prioritize down and figure out without, adequate tooling. And speaking of adequate tooling, it seems like Lupita's internet is working just now. Lupita, how are things on your side?
I literally was talking to myself this entire time. So the importance of having the right tooling is totally key. I think I was 4 slides past you here, but I appreciate you taking over. That is quite an interesting outcome that's turned up. But continue. I will pop in where it makes sense to.
Okay. Do you want to take this particular slide?
Absolutely.
Go for it.
So I think one of the things that I think is important to highlight, and I don't know how much Leo has kind of talked through this, is I often get the question of, why does it matter? Why do we need to consider maybe doing something differently than what we're doing today? And I think it always comes back to like the philosophy and approach that different solutions kind of offer. I think there's, free open source, third-pointed solutions, and this kind of highlights really the big key things that GitHub does well, right? We're thinking about the whole shift left, enabling developers within their ecosystem not to have to context switch, not to have to, do all the extra work, as Leo was mentioning, to actually go back and revoke a secret when a secret is found. And so how do you, I always say the cheapest flaw to fix is one that's never written, right? So if you never accidentally push anything to production, then the likelihood of having to be exposed to any risk is significantly reduced. And so the 5 main things that I think are most important is preventing that exposure, reducing the cost of impact if anything does happen, and your brand reputation, increasing that speed. And with that, can we still see my screen?
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay.
I see your screen.
So you see like the solution itself, right? Our approach, our philosophy to ensure.
Actually, Lupita, we cannot see your screen. Leo, we're sharing your screen right now.
Oh, that's right. That's hilarious. Let's switch over to Lupita's screen.
Let us.
Can we see it now?
We can. One sec. There we go.
And it's there. There you go.
Awesome. So then comes our solution, right? Introducing GitHub secret protection. For those of you who've used us already, you might have realized that we used to call it secret scanning. And we've since changed that connotation, right? Because we're not just scanning and producing like a report and saying, here's all the findings, take it or leave it, kind of decide what's important to you. Now it's secret protection. Let's be proactive, right? And how we're able to do that is through a series of 5 specific value items to your organization. One of them is doing it earlier with that push protection, ensuring that you have that blocker in place so that developers don't accidentally push anything through. I was telling Leo, I don't know if it cut off when I said this, is why would anyone accidentally hard code a secret? And it's like, we're human. Sometimes we would just want to move fast. And so it happens, right? But making sure you have the ecosystem in place to ensure the success of you developing the most secure code possible is what we aim to do with our set it and forget it. At a high level, you click of a button, it's on, and then from there, you just kind of stay within flow state. Comprehensive coverage. I often get asked the question of like, well, I use this solution and I found thousands of secrets and you only found hundreds. And it's like, well, isn't sometimes less more? Is it quality we're hoping for or quantity, right? So anytime I have a conversation with a customer, I try to get a sense for where they're at, where they need to be, and then talk them through how we specifically can get them there. And I think the big thing to point out is for us, accuracy is important. Helping you prioritize, actually taking steps to remediate or mitigate is the key to success. Now, that might not always be the outcome folks are looking for. Sometimes they say, I need to kind of see everything. And where that makes sense is if you're doing things after the fact, if you have no visibility. But in our case, we want to help bridge that gap between developers and security folks, enabling developers to take as much action as they can. Because if you saw earlier in the slides, we talk about the discrepancy in resource allocation. You have one security person to hundreds of developers. So the first kind of piece to the puzzle that GitHub Advanced Security provides with secret protection is that push protection. Avoids that costly remediation. I think it was $2.2 million you're saving if you don't accidentally leak a secret. It's providing that instantaneous feedback. No one needs to know. You can, have that advantage. If you accidentally did it, it'll block you from it. And if for whatever reason you need that flexibility, you need that exception, you can delegate that and say, hey, I actually have to push this through. And there's a history, an audit trail of it. So that's the key, right? Taking it off the hands of developers, mindset, and just only if they need to, having that flexibility to do so.
Are you slamming your hands against the desk?
Yes, I am. I'm making a point.
So passionate.
I am Latina. I talk with my hands. And I also feel like I have to, emphasize after talking to myself for 20 minutes. So I feel like I'm back. I'm alive. Talking to
We are live. This is very much live.
Exactly. I was wondering why no one was talking to me earlier, but I'm glad to be back.
We are too.
Well, and let's talk about the coverage, right? I think when we talk about prioritization, folks will kind of get caught up in the assessment. And I was just talking with Leo about this for the folks that are on, and I say, well, what's the difference, right? Provider-specific patterns, we have validity checks. We have, I think, 150 different providers we work with where we can say, oh, no, this is active. This is where you need to focus your energy first. But then there's some things where you can come in and do like more customized. Like I need to look for, I don't know, patient information or a driver's license number, maybe, I don't know, social security number, you name it. And so I think that just helps with the flexibility of expansion, but out of the box, out of the gates, I think from a starting standpoint, just focusing on what we know could potentially be of risk is the approach we like to take. And then from there, you do have the capacity to customize if needed. Because at the end of the day, I think high detection, high accuracy is what's going to enable your folks to just focus in on what's most critical, most important, the path of least resistance, right? And as you know, GitHub as a whole is just powering all of their solutions, all of our solutions with Copilot. So that's that whole ability to create regex patterns that may not be out of the box and ready to go, where you might see that with other folks. Like if you run a open source solution and it finds a bunch of stuff, that's cool and all, but like, how does that help you kind of work through what's most critical to your business? So I guess our theme here is prioritized remediation, right? We have this whole slogan internally. It's found means fixed. Anytime something's found, you're immediately fixing it. And we're able to do this with that validity check and dismissing things if it's low risk. Just let's focus on what's most important. Leo, did you want to say something? I can't see you, so if you want to pop in, feel free.
Yeah, I just want to say, hey, anyone who's in the chat, anyone who's watching, please put in the chat "found means fixed" at least 3 times if you could, because that'd be really cool to see like a whole wall of "found means fixed." So let's go ahead and do that, everybody.
Right. And then I talked about too, what else is important to folks when thinking about a solution for this problem. And it's scale, right? I think there is the ability with other solutions to like create scripts and configure it so that if a secret is found, it blocks you, but there's no real way to like standardize that. You got to make sure every developer is doing it themselves. And maybe if they're too lazy to put in a key vault and, do secrets the right way, what makes you think they're going to be?
Or maybe they don't have a key vault.
Or maybe they don't, but like if they're too lazy to do that, put that in place. What makes you think they're going to make sure that, they got the right scripts in place to protect them? So it's better to go from the top down, not have them worry about it. Just plug and play, right? Set and forget it. Yay, I see 3 found means fixed. Keep it going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep it going, y'all. It looks good so far.
I'll take it. And I think the partner program is also another big highlight, right? Sometimes I'll get the, objection of like, well, this organization also has provider partnerships. And it's like, right. But you have to maintain them. You have to go and have that, integration or setup. And that's cool. Like if that works for you, or you can just, use a solution that doesn't require to engage and keep up with that. So again, it all totally depends where you are, where you want to be, and then how you want to get there. So for us, it's like GitHub handles this, right? It's a convenience. It's kind of like you can go pick up your food or have DoorDash deliver it or Uber, right? Same scenario. So in essence, the GitHub secret protection promise is prevention first, streamline remediation, enhance developer productivity, and obviously brand protection. When you partner with us, it's not just the technology, it's the people, it's the process, it's the overall engagement. We're a team. We got you. So how do you get started? Since you all stayed this long with me, and I know I only got half of you, or I only got to stay on half, is through what we just released. I mentioned this, and I don't know if you heard it because I wasn't on, but we just announced the secret risk assessment on April 1st. And I think a lot of people thought it was a joke because it was on April Fool's Day, but it's not. You actually have access to this and it's free. And what it's designed to do is to give you the ammo you need internally to showcase if you have this gap in your industry, like you don't know how many secrets are exposed because you don't have a solution, or maybe you are using a solution and you don't think you have any risk, just click on this button and it'll give you an overview of what your organization looks like: total secrets, public leaks, secret types, if they're provider secrets, if they're generic. And what that's helping folks do is bootstrap internally some attention to say, hey, I think we need to maybe change what we're doing. And that's been a great feature, a great function for folks. Again, it's free. It won't go into the detail of like what repo, what app you actually need to change the code on, but that's on purpose, right? Then you got to turn on secret protection and engage with our approach and philosophy to help you solve this problem. So hopefully that was some good insight in our approach to helping you protect your secrets. I am now going to officially hand it over to Leo to actually show you how to run this assessment and then show you how to turn on secret protection to get the full breadth and depth of what it provides.
Very cool. Hey, everybody in the chat, could you all give like a round of applause for Lupita for, getting dropped like at the beginning? and then like coming in and like picking up like it was nothing. So please give her some claps in the chat, please. That would be fantastic for her ego. It would be really helpful for her ego.
As long as
All
you
right.
want a secret assessment, we're good.
That's
all.
right. All right. So Lupita just talked about that security assessment. And what I would like to show you all is how to actually get that started. So I am in my organization called Burrito Party. And what I want to do is I'm going to go into settings. Actually, no, I don't want to go into settings because that's not where it is. I want to go to security. And inside security, I have a couple of options on my left side navigation. And I actually want to go to assessments where it says preview. So I'm going to go ahead and click on assessments. And this is where you can start that free assessment in your organizations. So again, here I am in my organization. I'm going to go to security, click on assessments in the left-hand navigation, and then click on scan my organization. And so that will go ahead and start that process and will then report what secrets exist. And here's what a report looks like after it's done. So you can see here in this organization called Octodemo, we have a total of 4,503 secrets that were identified. 144 of those are public leaks, and 1,582 of them could have been prevented with push protection. It also kind of gives us an idea of, what types of keys were identified: Google API keys, bearer tokens, RSA private keys, GitHub public personal access tokens, Stripe, Mailgun, Azure, GoCardless, OpenSSH, PGP, Atlassian, MongoDB, GitLab keys in GitHub. You heard it here first. And then you also have Twilio. There's so many different ones, right? And so now I want to know, well, how do I actually identify where these are? So I've done the scan. I have my report here. Well, I want to start enabling secret protection across all of my repositories. So let me go ahead and show you what that process looks like. So I'm going to come back to my Burrito Party. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into settings, and I'm going to click on advanced security and configurations. So what a security configuration is a way for you to turn on advanced security features at scale across your organization. And so I have a configuration here called secret scanning only. And so basically what it does is it turns on secret protection across my entire organization here. So these are the features that it's going to enable. So actually, I'll just keep that enabled here. So you can see here with secret protection, we have validity checks. So for specific partners that we work with, if we find that token in your environment, we will go ahead and go through a secure API endpoint at that partner and basically ask, does this token, is it live, yes or no? Once we get that response, we'll update the alert and tell you this is a live one or this is not an active token. This is to help sort of prioritize which kind of tokens need to be remediated as soon as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and enable that. There's also these two where it says non-provider patterns. Non-provider patterns are going to be patterns like HTTP bearer tokens, RSA tokens, SSH keys, etc., that aren't necessarily tied to a specific company or service. They could be used for a lot of different other purposes. And so we'll say like they're non-provider patterns. Generic passwords are going to be the ones that we identify with Copilot. And so these are going to be ones that are, your passwords are upper, lowercase characters, special characters, numbers, things like that. Something that you would like generate with like a password manager, or your something with your birthday, your last name, and some other part of it, or Hunter2, password 123, whatever it might be. We use AI to help identify those. And then once we identify them, we have multiple filters to help filter out a lot of potential noise that comes after that. So that way we're providing you with higher fidelity results utilizing artificial intelligence. Then we have these options down here where we can enable push protection. So that way when a developer is trying to push like a provider pattern or a custom pattern, because you can create custom patterns with secret scanning or secret protection, if they try to push that into the repository and it is a net new secret, it'll be blocked at the pre-receive hook. So what will happen is that developer commits it, pushes it over to GitHub. Then what GitHub is going to do, it's going to put that commit into an isolated environment, run a scan against it. And then if it identifies a new secret, it'll go ahead and block that from being added to the commit history in the repository. And it'll tell a developer, you have a secret at this line in this file, please remove it and then recommit your code. So that way they can reset, they can deal with that secret in a much more secure way. And then they can recommit and push, and then they should be able to have that in that repository, in which case they can go ahead and pull a request, merge it, and then move on. These last two are going to be about delegation, because by default, if a developer wants to close a secret alert or bypass push protection, which means that they got push protected, but they want to go ahead and just bypass it altogether and still push it, you can set it up where there's going to be a role or people or security people that can review those alerts and then allow developers to close it or to keep it open or to keep the push protection live. Oxnell, this live stream is about a lot of things, but we're mostly talking about secrets. So stick around because we have secrets, I guess, whatever. Yeah, thank you, Anna, for putting that on there. There's got a troll in the chat. It's like, what is this about? I don't even know. So let's go ahead and enable these. Let's say like, in this case, we can specify specific actors or anyone with right access. We can go ahead and do things that way. So once I have the security configuration, what I can do is I can select however many repositories that I want. I can filter down to specific types of repositories with languages, with different types of licenses associated with them, with different types of configurations, with custom properties, whatever sort I want. I can narrow that down and then apply this particular configuration to it. And now I have secret protection across my entire organization, which makes things pretty handy. Next, what I want to do is the prevention piece, right? So git ignore won't work no more. No. Git ignore is going to work. Just make sure that you don't commit the file before you put it into the git ignore file, because that means it'll be a part of the git history. But then whenever you add the git ignore changes, it's still a part of that history. We want to prevent these from being a part of the git history together. That's a good question, though. I mean, shout out to git ignore. Okay, so talking about prevention, this repository here has push protection turned on. In fact, before I actually officially say that, I do want to make sure it is turned on, and it is turned on. Excellent. So I don't expect developers to code inside of GitHub the way I'm about to do it, but just for simplicity's sake of doing demos, I'm going to add some code to this repository in the UI and just kind of demonstrate what push protection looks like. So we have this little handy dandy tool called Canary Token. This is a really nice sort of service that allows you to create essentially, I wouldn't say like honeypots, but essentially a token that you can see and get notified whenever it actually gets utilized. So you can kind of get an idea of, have my secrets gotten leaked and actually who's using it and where they're using it from. So it's kind of neat. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my email address in here. And this is Reactor test. So it's going to go ahead and create some fake AWS tokens for me. I'm going to go ahead and copy those. And I'm just going to add them to like a text file here, for example. So I'm just going to open up the text file here, open this up, delete that, and then add the new one here. Now, if all things work, I'm going to commit directly to the main branch. I should be blocked. And yes, I am. So you can see here, it tells me that there is an AWS access key on line 2, which there is an access key on line 2. There's also a secret access key on line 3, but since we found this one, we're saying, like, just block it. We're already blocking this commit. You should remove these things. Now, when I see this in my Git client or in my IDE or anything like that, it'll have a link there that will take me to that particular alert. And then I can say, I want to bypass this because it's using tests, or it's a false positive, or you know what, I recognize this as an actual secret, but I need this in the repository right away because the service is down and we need this working as soon as possible because our customers are relying on us. So we can go ahead and say that and allow the secret. I'm not going to allow the secret. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. I'm going to cancel the changes here. And so the secret that I was going to add to the repository is no longer there. So if I just kind of compare these two, NYY for the secret access key, 7ERO, they're different access keys here. So this is what we had originally. I erased it, added a new one, got push protected. Now we're back to this original one. So that's push protection pretty much in a nutshell. So what we talked about today is going to be the cost, the high cost in terms of labor, in terms of resources, in terms of reputation, if secrets that you manage get leaked or or exposed one way or another. And then we talked about the solution that GitHub provides, which is GitHub Secret Protection, and how we detect secrets, and we can also prevent secrets from happening or from being added into the repository. Another thing I want to reiterate here is if you want to run a secret assessment today for free, you can go into your organization, click on security, and go to assessments and scan your organization. And that way you're going to see how many secrets exist in the organization, how many could have been blocked with push protection, and what kind of types of secrets that exist in your organization currently. So we do have some more questions from our boy Oxnell here. Can this be added to our local GitLab instance? Of course, no offense to GitHub. Of course, no offense, not at all. Like, GitLab is a cool tool. Like when I was working as a developer and for a government contractor, we use GitLab a lot. So no bad mouthing competition at all. I appreciate what they do, and I think they do a good job of what they do. So with secret protection, currently it's only utilized within the GitHub context, but our product team is considering, is there a way for us to make it, available to work on other source control management platforms like GitLab or Bitbucket and others that exist out there? So that's a great question. Another question, he says, he or she or they, how does this work? What if I'm using something not famous like AWS keys? For example, I use basic auth in some of my scripts. So the way that it works is that we have a set of patterns that we use, and these are patterns that we have high fidelity for them. If the pattern for your kind of like basic auth is not like AWS keys or something like that, but it's like, upper lowercase sort of characters and things like that, you can use Copilot to help identify those, or you can create a custom secret pattern that matches the pattern that you want to have. And you can set that custom pattern to be set for push protection, which then anytime that you want to push new type of those kind of basic passwords or tokens that you create, they won't be added anymore because they'll be push protected. So there's just some ways that you can kind of deal with that that way. But thank you for the questions. This is fantastic. I really do appreciate that. Lupita, do you have anything that you want to add while we continue?
No, I think this is important, right? This free secret assessment, because it at least gives you some visibility into the way that we identify secrets, right? I think folks either have something in place or don't have anything at all. And whether you're in either of those situations, there's really no, impact if you do decide to just click that button. So if you're online and you're thinking about it, you have nothing to lose, everything to win.
Cool. I think that is a good turning point. I don't have anything else that I want to add to this. Lupita, I think you've said the thing that you wanted to say. So I think now's a great time to sort of, leave it to the chat. So chat, found means fixed. Claps for Lupita for coming in. Claps for Oxnell for providing their questions. What other questions do you have out here in the chat? What is your favorite secret? Just kidding. Don't do that. And Oxnell also makes another comment. I feel like this is just like you, me, Lupita, and Oxnell, like just the three of us.
Yeah, totally.
And Anish is like in the corner, just like handing out like hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. What I mean?
And so, this is recorded, so it will be on YouTube forever. So my inability to stay on the live experience will be shown. But you at least get to see, just like, how we think about, from our perspective, helping you all secure secrets and at least the way that we approach this problem. I always jokingly say I'm kind of like a therapist when I hop on calls. I think, did I cut off at the point where I said I'm an ACE? I'm an application security executive.
No. You cut off a while afterwards. It's like right around when you started talking about the first slide is when you just suddenly dropped off the face of the earth.
I hit the enter button and then this went away.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Lesson learned. But we do these every 2 weeks. So I'm going to have to come back and do another one. It might be a different topic, but we'll still keep it light and fun. So we encourage you to subscribe. Hit that like button below. Isn't that what the YouTubers say?
Yeah.
The first time.
Yeah, this percentage of people are not subscribed to Microsoft Reactor. So if you could please like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. Also, please put in the chat the monitor that Lupita should buy, because I think she needs a second monitor. So that would be really helpful for these type of things too.
That is true. I agree.
Yeah, if it were me, go OLED, but that's just me.
Hopefully this was fun and engaging. These are live, so they're not, prepared or canned. Obviously, we know what we're talking about, or I think so. But
maybe.
You enjoyed it. And we hope to see you again on the next one. We have some cool stuff coming for our dependency scanning in the next 2 weeks. So tune in and feel free to give your feedback. Obviously, give us 5 stars so we can continue to do this. But totally in your hands. We appreciate y'all. And if anything comes up after, feel free to email us. You can find us on LinkedIn. We're both on there. Appreciate y'all's time. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much.
Yep. Talk to y'all soon. Take care. Have a great week. And protect your secrets. Found means fixed. Hashtag. Right.
Thank you all for joining, and thank you to our speakers. This session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. We'll see you at the next one.